What's going on, guys? And welcome to the Start Thinking Forward morning show. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of positive things. Today, we got some guest speakers, and let me get this echo out of here real quick. We have a guest speaker. We have a couple of guest speakers today. Today, we're going to have James M. Gallo. He's a medical doctor. He served as the Assistant U.S. Surgeon General, Rear Admiral in the United States Public Health Service, and Regional Health Administrator for the United States Department of Health and Human Services under both President Bush and Obama as a senior federal official for health, pandemic, influenza, and bioterrorism. So we're just going to dive into that. We're going to bring him on in a few, but there's a lot of discerning things that's happening right now. So for those that are just now following, before we bring on our guests, and we also have another guest, we have Justin Pogue. He's a real estate expert, and we're going to be bringing him on in a few, and he's going to be talking about how you can position yourself. First things first, there is a press release that was just put out, and I want to share my screen real quick about that. There's a press release out, and I'm going to see if I can blow this up real quick. I want you guys to make sure you can see this. But basically, there's a press release out right now that's saying that there are fraudulent checks going out. So let's pull up on that. So basically, the Secret Service has put out a press release saying that people are sending out fraudulent checks, saying that this is your stimulus check. So ultimately, what happens when you get this check, let's say you go and put it in your bank, they have access to your account information. They may try to contact you. So the Secret Service has put out a press release saying this is how your check is going to look. And also look at the bottom here. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. I want you to see this. But right here, it says, it has the actual president's name. They're confident in the seal. They're telling you what to look for in that check. So make sure that you are getting the right check and you're not being scammed, because if you get another check and you use that check, these people may hijack your real stimulus check when you get it. So that was something that just came out in the press release. Second thing we want to talk about is that there's a lot of rhetoric and stuff that's going on right now in our community. And it's kind of disconcerting because a lot of people just don't know what exactly is going on. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on and why, we're going to talk about that today. So the first clip I want to play, because I'm here in Georgia. So today is Georgia's first day for opening up. Now, the question, a lot of people are having is that, are they going to go to these facilities? Are all businesses going to be open? This was strongly against what the CDC, other health professionals have said that we should not be opening, that Georgia is on a tier of opening, I believe it's June 22nd, something to that effect. So ultimately, there's some stuff going on. So let's talk about it. But before we go there, let's talk first about the protesters. Let's talk real quick about these protesters.
Brother, I add one thing to that. Liberty must prevail.
If we don't get to work, you don't get to work. Freedom is essential.
Our community is struggling. My husband is on unemployment for the first time in our life. And it's unwillingly that we're taking unemployment. We want to go back to work.
Time for our state to be opened up. We're tired of not being able to buy the things that we need, go to the hairdressers, get our hair done. It's time to open up.
Who's ready to stand defiant against this governor and open up business tomorrow? Lock her up! 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 Lock her up!
I know that people are angry, and that's okay. And if you want to take it out and send it my way, if it makes you feel better, that's fine. We know that this rally endangered people. when people gather that way without masks, they were in close proximity, they were touching one another, that's how COVID-19 spreads. And so the sad irony here is that the protest was that they don't like being in this stay-home order, and they may have just created a need to lengthen it, which is something that we're trying to avoid at all costs.
Now, I think that's very interesting that people are taking to the streets protesting about being on lockdown, with a lot of people not really knowing, what's really going on with COVID-19. So I find it very interesting that people are willing to take the streets, not knowing all the details about it. But it seems like a lot of people just feel that they have the right to, I guess, dance with death, I guess, for whatever reason. So real quick, I see that Justin is here. So Justin, I want you to chime in a little bit. I don't know if you got some something you want to share about what you just seen, but a lot of people don't know that there are literally protesters out here protesting, wanting to go back to work, even with some of the numbers still going up in various states. And we haven't even got to Georgia real quick. So Justin, you got any insight about this?
It's really hard to know what's actually going on, because a lot of the statistics that are out there don't really make a lot of sense, because they're talking about, infection rates. Well, you haven't tested everybody, so you really don't know what the rate of infection is across the whole population. And you're also getting different bits and pieces of data. So I'm hearing in some quarters that hospitals are actually laying off people because they cannot perform the normal surgeries that they would perform as far as treating people who have cancer and heart disease and other health issues not related to COVID. And a lot of ICUs aren't full because they're waiting for all these COVID patients to come and they're not there. So there's a lot of uncertainty going on, and there's a lot of kind of data points on the ground that aren't matching what the federal information is telling us.
Okay. So, I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, I think, once again, like you said, there's a lot of misinformation. And then some people think that the federal government is overreacting this time. Some people saying it's not a pandemic, but a plandemic. For whatever reason, and there's a whole multitude of scenarios and things that people are shedding light on. But at the end of the day, I think that when you don't know, you just don't know. And I think that we don't have enough data. And, I hear a lot of people saying, well, I'm willing to do this and I'm willing to do that. But at the same time, they're exercising caution. I mean, like some people say, oh, it's not really, it's just a scare tactic. But they're still wearing the mask and they're taking the right procedures to prevent it. So it's just an interesting time how we see American people acting right now. And part of the reason that, I wanted to bring some people on like yourself is to make sure that we're focusing not on fear, but really focusing on the things that really matter the most. And in my mind, I think that is that eventually things are going to return to some type of normalcy, and that people need to be working on certain aspects of their life, financials and what have you, versus just worrying about COVID-19. There's a lot of people that, are already been exposed, are not showing any signs. The more concern that I'm hearing is that they're concerned that people that are more predisposed to getting sick may get sick from people that don't even show signs and symptoms of it. So, I just want to take some of that fear out of it and really talk from a practical standpoint and give some insight to our listeners here on how they can better, position themselves to win. So I'm going to bring you back on in a few, and we're going to talk a little bit about the real estate part of it. So I want wanted to play another video that once again can be kind of misleading, and this is coming directly from the White House. So let's go and look at this video real quick. This came out yesterday, and a lot of controversy behind it. So let's look at this video real quick and kind of see what are some of your opinions out there. So let's go ahead and roll that clip.
With no silver bullet to knock out the coronavirus, President Trump is suggesting medical experts look into exposing the human body to light and heat as a possible treatment.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way.
President Trump even posing the question to Dr. Deborah Birx on his coronavirus task force.
Deborah, have you ever heard of that, the heat and the light relative to certain viruses? Yes, but relative to this virus?
Not as a treatment. I mean, certainly fever is a good thing when you have a fever. It helps your body respond. But not as I've not seen.
It came after Bill Bryan, who leads Homeland Security's Science and Technology Division, said his researchers found the virus does not survive in warmer and more humid conditions.
The virus dies the quickest in the presence of direct sunlight.
But the virus has thrived in areas with more humid climates like New Orleans and South Florida, and overseas in places like Singapore and Brazil. Bryant later added that heat alone would not kill the virus, and people should continue to follow social distancing guidelines.
It would be irresponsible for us to say that we feel that the summer is just going to totally kill the virus and that if it's a free-for-all and that people ignore those guidelines. That is not the case.
President Trump also pondering the possibility of injecting someone with a disinfectant.
Then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning that you're going to have to use medical doctors with? But it sounds interesting to me.
This morning, medical experts are nearly unanimous in saying that trying unproven treatments can prove to be very dangerous, especially ingesting or injecting disinfectants. In fact, the maker of Lysol has issued a warning this morning concerned that people may try it. The maker of Lysol is saying we must be clear that under no circumstances should our disinfectant products be administered into the human body through injection, ingestion, or any other route. As with all products, our disinfectant and hygiene products should only be used as intended and in line with usage guidelines. The concern, Savannah, is that people may try this at home.
All right, so real quick, I just thought that was very interesting, and also once again some misinformation put out. So I'm gonna bring you back on, Justin. What's your insight on that? I don't even know if you even seen that from yesterday.
My concern about that is people are coming to these press conferences for answers. Not hype, not hope, not possibilities. I need to know what you know for sure, because I need to be working on facts. So I'm trying to handle my family, deal with the economic outcome of this. I need some facts, some actual hard data to work with. And in this time of uncertainty, hard data is hard to come by, but the government is putting itself out there as the source of data for people to be using in their daily lives to better their own personal situation. So that information that he's putting about, well, maybe we can try this, maybe we can try that. No, you have the laboratories, go test it, go try it out. Bring me some answers back, please, because that's what I need to know. And if you're at the testing stage, just tell me that. But don't kind of put it out there as this hypothetical and then not follow up with, we're testing this, we're working on this, the study will be done in 2 months. You know, that's the kind of information I need to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So real quick, so I know that you're also the author of the Rental Secrets. You went to Walden School of Business, so you got a BS in economics, MBA from Dartmouth School, University of Virginia. So you've also been on Fox. So you're definitely a subject matter expert. So what should people be focusing on right now when it comes to ownership right now? Because I know a lot of people are getting so concerned, they're sitting in the home, but like we talked about earlier, these stimulus packages are coming out. All these things is coming out, and this for some people is money that they're not accustomed to having. So where should they be putting this money at? Why? What decisions should they be making? How do they leave this coronavirus situation after everything's said and done in a much better situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And the first step is taking stock of where you are and what resources you have, what skills you have, what was your background prior to the coronavirus, what educational level do you have? And I don't necessarily mean in terms of degrees. Have you been reading books about real estate? Have you been reading books about investing? And this is a great time to be working on that, because that 2 hours that you were spending in commute every day, you now have that as extra time to invest in yourself. And that's where I think people first need to start. Now, for people who are actually renters and they're receiving this $1,200 per person kind of thing, and then $500 for their children, we need to put that in perspective. That $1,200 is equal to the average monthly rent of a 2-bedroom apartment. So for a lot of people, that $1,200 will cover 1 month of rent, and that's about as far as that's going to go. So it really becomes important for people to think about how to negotiate with their landlord. And depending on their situation, they may say, well, I can go ahead and pay you the rent now, but I'm still dealing with a lot of uncertainty. So can we negotiate this rent amount? My rent amount may have been $1,200. Can we agree to $1,100 for this month, and that satisfies my obligation because you're getting money right now in hand, whereas other people are not paying you at all? Or can we maybe defer this rent payment out and give me 12 months to make up that rent payment and avoid the late fees? Other people are looking at the situation in a different way, maybe saying, you have my deposit, accept that deposit as my last month's of rent payment. Let me move out, and I'm going to consolidate my household with someone else so I can cut down on my expenses. And those are all different ways that people who are in a rental situation can respond to this. Now, in terms of actually taking this money and going out and investing in property, it's a bit more of a dicey situation, because there's uncertainty around the cash flows that a rental property would create in the future. And that's one of the ways that people evaluate what a property is worth, is based on the cash flows that it'll create in the future. So there's a lot of uncertainty around what a residential rental property is actually worth at this point in time. But definitely taking the time to put in the research, reading, plug into different podcasts, local real estate groups, and really educate yourself on investing in real estate and on the market now is an excellent use of your time right now. Certainly much better than watching the news all day.
That's interesting that you bring that point up. So basically you're saying not necessarily for everyone, this may not be the best time to invest in real estate, especially if this is not something that you already planning for. So for those, let's just say, that are leasing, because right now I know that there's a proposed bill. I don't know if you're familiar with it, so I hate to put you on the spot, but I know that there's a proposed bill out right now that's talking about, rent and mortgage, basically forgiveness for a certain amount of months. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. That conversation have really started at the beginning of this coronavirus situation. And the discussion of moratorium on evictions has started from the beginning. And from the landlord's point of view, it's like, okay, so I can't evict anyone, which means they don't have to, I have no recourse if people don't pay rent. But on the other side of this, I still have this mortgage to pay. And the conversations about mortgage deferment have been slower to occur. They've been occurring on a more individual case-by-case basis between landlord and lender. So actually deferring both of them is a step in the right direction. However, the landlord is still paying their property management companies. They're still paying the maintenance people to upkeep the property and respond to the needs of the residents. Property taxes are still going to be going on. So there's a lot of things that there are a lot of expenses that are still happening on the landlord side, even if the mortgage is deferred. And that's what a lot of landlords are hearing. Their mortgage may be deferred, but then on the other side, now there's this discussion of not beyond just a moratorium on evictions, beyond deferment of rent. Now there's this concept of the rent amnesty for a number of months, which again puts the landlord back in the situation where I have this mortgage obligation that got deferred, but then the rent was actually forgiven, and that puts them back in that same situation of not having funds to handle that particular mortgage that they have.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, you talked a little bit about it already, but what are some ways that people can, negotiate their situation? Because everyone has a different situation, and definitely some people haven't received the first stimulus. We're talking about, I think today, or even right now, as we're speaking, the president is signing the next, I guess, the 3.5 part of the stimulus package. So we had 3.5 in the stimulus package, and some people haven't received the first one. What are some negotiation things that people may be able to do to give them some more time? Because at the end of the day, I think one of the biggest things that people were thinking is that, the bill that we just spoke about has not been passed, and we don't know if it will be passed. So no matter what, rent is still due. And I want to make sure, because even if if they put it off and they can't evict you at this current moment, that if you do not pay your bill, it's only a matter of time you will be evicted, that you're accruing payments. What do you have any strategies or workarounds on that?
Yes. So what people should really be thinking about right now is, first, assessing what resources you have access to now. Was there some kind of severance pay from your previous job? What exactly are you receiving from unemployment? What amount of savings do you have, if any? Assess all of that information. Then you can talk to your landlord intelligently about your specific situation. Okay. Now, not everybody has lost their job. So for those people who do have their jobs, they can actually go to the landlord and say, well, my rent this month was supposed to be $1,200. I'm dealing with a lot of uncertainty here. I do still have employment going on. Can we maybe negotiate this monthly rent payment down $100 or whatever and satisfy my obligation now? Because money in your hand right now is worth more than money that you may receive 3, 6, 12 months from now.
Exactly.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you've lost your job and the unemployment is coming in is not going to be enough to maintain this particular household, then you may want to think about whose other household might I be able to move into? Might I be able to share household expenses with brother, sister, mother, what have you? Can I possibly rent a room in the apartment that I have to someone else to increase the amount of monetary resources that I'm working with? And then you can use that information to negotiate with the landlord when you have that conversation. So it's really important to think broadly about what options are out there. And another point I'd make is in terms of your relationship with your landlord. Okay, it's really important that people manage what I call social capital. And what I mean by that is your relationship with the landlord. Have you actually been paying rent on time? Have you been following the community rules? Have you been, do you have good relationships with the other people who are living around you? And those things are really important, because if I'm the landlord and I'm actually going to enter into a negotiation with someone, I want it to be with someone that I want to keep in my building. If I'm not really interested in keeping you in my building, then I'm not really interested in negotiating with you. So those other factors really come into play when you run into situations like this, where your income has been completely disrupted and you're trying to work through a situation with your landlord. But communication, social capital, and knowing what resources you have to bring to bear are all really important in this situation.
All right, so I definitely appreciate that insight. So real quick, we're going to go over the video about Georgia today. If you don't know, today is our first day being reopened. So I want to take some time real quick and play that video for everyone to see. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about that.
This morning, gyms, tattoo parlors, and bowling alleys in Georgia opening their doors for the first time in weeks.
We're shutting down pairs in between the other lanes, so at the closest anybody will actually be to your group is 11 feet.
The state's governor easing coronavirus restrictions beginning today, giving businesses the green light to reopen.
We don't even let people inside the building anymore.
But the reaction from small business owners is mixed.
We're putting, people over profit at the end of the day.
Some saying they aren't taking any chances.
I just would never feel comfortable if anything ever happened to any of my clients because they came in my salon.
While others say they are eager to safely get back to business.
We are not using our snack bar, we're not using our lounge, we're not using the arcade.
I wasn't happy with Brian Kemp. Spas, beauty parlors, tattoo parlors, no.
Even President Trump, who is encouraging states to ease restrictions, is calling out Georgia's governor for opening up too much too soon.
I said, you do what you think is best. But if you ask me, am I happy about it? I'm not happy about it.
Safety recommendations during the pandemic are constantly changing. Just yesterday, one study said states like Texas and South Carolina could begin to reopen by June 1st. But 24 hours later, distancing measures should stay in place for at least another 6.5 weeks.
My book is already full.
And Georgia is not alone in its quest to reopen. Salons in Oklahoma already have full schedules beginning today, while Tennessee promises to lift restrictions by Thursday.
Everybody needs to go back to work. Everybody wants to go back to work.
And in Texas, restrictions may still be in place, but some businesses say they can't stay closed another day.
We have to open. We have to survive, and that's what we're doing. We have to survive.
The NAACP is calling on Georgia branches to defy the governor and maintain the shelter-in-place orders. The overall COVID-19 death rate in Georgia is 4%, but for Black COVID-19 patients, it's more than 9%. Kenneth, Mona.
Megan, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that. What do you think are some of the implications for the real estate market? And I'm going to speak specifically to African Americans here, because, what we're hearing is that, people are ready to open back up. And a lot of the people that's going to be mostly affected by this is going to really be the disenfranchised people. So how do you think they can have a leg up? Because even if we are opening and everything goes well, which I'm hoping it does, what about those that for whatever reason the job isn't coming back, and we know that that's going to be kind of representative of our communities? What are some of the things that people, in your opinion, that they can do to offset that possibly?
So as we heard in that clip, small businesses do want to open up, and they are going to need employees to do that. Now, some of those employees are going to choose to come back and work in this environment, given that it's so early in this opening up process. There's still a lot of uncertainty, and then some won't. If you are open to doing that, if you are open to going back to work, then definitely, apply. But understand, this is an individual choice. I heard one of the small business owners say that she would be appalled if anything happened to any of her clients. But what she's not realizing is those clients are choosing to come to her and use her service, and they understand that there are certain risks attached to that, and these are risks that happen all the time. Even before COVID, we were exposed to bacteria and viruses. Those things exist out there. They're real. They were there before COVID became a household name. And the other thing I'd say is, when we talk about COVID, we're talking about those people who are kind of predisposed. They have these underlying health conditions, and African Americans, unfortunately, have a higher incidence of these underlying health conditions: heart disease, diabetes, these other things that we see mentioned in these television commercials that we're seeing. So part of what African Americans specifically probably need to start doing is rethinking how they're looking at their budgets. We should be spending money on vitamin supplements. We should be spending money on exercise to the extent that we need to. There's some changes that we need to be making so that we have less instances of these underlying health issues, and that we can be healthier overall, and that our immune systems can be healthier. One of the things that really floors me about this whole thing is that the CDC never came out and said, yes, this is why we told you to eat your vegetables. That's what, yeah. That's really what should have been going on. What are things that average people can do to better their situation and better their immune system? Exercise, eating vegetables, vitamin supplements. These are things that people should be thinking about adding into their budget. Because if you can make room for other things in your budget, cable TV, Jordan sneakers, rims, these kinds of things, then you may want to put some thought into some of the other things that can help your immune system function better. So there's a little bit of a shift in thinking away from the consumerism, away from, shall we say, ostentatious consumerism, more towards internal and health supportive consumer ideas.
Yeah. Justin, to be honest with you, what alarms me the most is that a lot of people are going to leave the situation in a worse off position than they were before COVID-19. So that's what really concerns me. And so I want to make sure that, that I can give or bring people, to this platform that are subject matter experts like yourself that can talk about these things that's going to better position them. Because I think the worst thing to happen is that you leave the situation, and let's just say, in some instances, there are people that will be receiving stimulus monies, that those monies are more than they ever received when they were working. So what should you be doing if you're getting this money? You got more time, because everyone always, complain about, well, I don't have enough time to start a side hustle, to start a business, to look into real estate, whatever it is. So now you got nothing but time. But the question then is, now you got the time, what are you focusing on? And now when you get this money, you get this stimulus check, what are you going to do with it? What are your suggestions to people right now that they should be looking at doing with their funds they're getting ready to receive?
Yeah, so definitely people should be looking at starting some type of side hustle. What is a service that you can do, that you can provide? And it may be landscaping, it may be babysitting services, it may be some type of consulting services if you're in the business space, something like that. There are all kinds of side businesses that people can start, or just even start researching. And there are a number of books that are available. You can order them from Amazon now that you have your stimulus money, or you may even be able to get them from the library online for free. And just start testing out what services might people be interested in, and compare that with what your skills and capabilities are. Because you don't necessarily have to only depend on a particular job for your income, or wait for someone to give you a job. You may actually be able to create that income on your own. So the time that you now have, that you're sheltering in place, that you're spending watching television, and not just television, watching the news, that time can really be better spent on figuring out how you can apply your skills to a particular side hustle or to a particular investment strategy. And I know that a number of different business advisors are doing webinars. Many of them are free right now on different investment topics that you could get involved in. And you don't have to be committed to any one or the other. Just take the time, now that you have it, to go out and see what's available out there, what's possible. Because you really didn't have time to do it when you were doing 80-hour work weeks and rushing home to fix dinner for the kids and all of that. But now you do have some of that time. So really put it to good use, so you can actually come out of this in a better situation with a broader perspective.
All right, so real quick, let's talk a little bit about what it is that you do. So I know those listening, I know you've been talking a lot about real estate. So what exactly is your business function, so that those that are listening right now may be able to get some help in these areas that we're talking about?
Absolutely. So I describe what I do as teaching renters how landlords think so they can negotiate better when they go to rent a property. And that's what my book, Rental Secrets, is about. Because the issues that we had before COVID-19, they're still there. We've just kind of pushed them on the back burner. And a lot of those issues relate to housing or lack thereof. And most renters look at their landlord as the enemy, and and that in many ways is unfortunate, because it closes off opportunities for negotiation for them. And as a renter, most people feel hopeless and helpless when they go into some kind of rental situation. But there are levers, there are ways that renters can influence what landlords are thinking and what the actions that landlords are taking to better their own situation. And that's what Rental Secrets is bringing to the table.
Now, where can they get the Rental Secrets, and why do you think it's important, and especially in this time, for them to get that book? Why should they get it? Why should they be empowered to get that book during this time?
Absolutely. So Rental Secrets is available at Amazon, as well as at rentalsecrets.net and a number of other online retailers. But why Rental Secrets is so important right now is because we're entering into this time of financial, economic, political uncertainty. And when you're going through a period of time like that, you want to have as much control as you can over what's going on with your finances. And for the majority of renters, rent is the biggest financial expense that they have month in, month out. So knowing how to negotiate around that, knowing how to possibly reduce that, knowing how to even get access to free rent, which is possible, although most people think it's not, it is possible that you could even create that opportunity for yourself. Knowing how to do those things will really impact your financial well-being in this time of uncertainty. So that's really the value of that the book is bringing right now today, as we kind of go through this COVID-19 situation. Because as you mentioned earlier, at some point rent is going to become due, and knowing how to negotiate and navigate this situation with your landlord is going to be of utmost importance.
And I totally agree with you on that. And I think a lot of people need to prepare for, what's to come. So in your opinion, with everything being said, do you think that we're going to reach a new level of normal in this country? Will things return back to business as usual, or will there be some type of a paradigm shift on how we do things moving forward, and what industries will be impacted? Do you think the real estate market is going to be impacted? What's your view on that?
So yes, we are going to return to some type of a new normal. There have been previous viruses, health issues, health scares that have occurred. Over time, the country did return to some type of normal. Now, the question is, as you point out, there are going to be some industries that are impacted. You have colleges and universities have been closed. They've been doing online classes. And there have been instances of students that have sued their university because they're not providing them that hands-on in-class service that they were promised and that they're paying for. Commercial real estate. All of these people have been working from home. They've enjoyed working from home to some degree. And some people say, you want me to work from home? Well, I can quote unquote work from home in Hawaii. And some people have been doing that. So they've been working in places other than their I should say legal abode. But that has implications for office space. And when you think about how much office space there is across the country, do we really need to maintain these offices and these cubicles for all of these people when they might be working from home for, in the future, they might be working from home 2, 3 days a week or more. So there's definitely implications for that. In terms of like hotels and hospitality industry, there's going to be a lot more emphasis on maintaining the cleanliness of those hotel rooms, disinfecting the hotel rooms. I mean, everything down to disinfecting the carpets between people coming in, not just vacuuming, but actually maybe steam cleaning and shampooing the carpets in between people and in between guests using that room. So there are going to be a lot of implications, and they're going to affect each industry differently. But I do think one of the two main industries that are going to be affected is the college and university industry and the office rental industry, most definitely.
Okay. So with that being said, what type of reform? Because the technology's been out there for a while. I remember when I was in college, we had Blackboard and stuff like that. So, all these things are already, been there. Some universities and colleges use them more than others. So now there's definitely been a push for that. So how do you think, because there's always been an argument that there needs to be some type of reform when it comes to education, the student debt in this country, and thanks to the CARES Act, all those things have kind of been temporarily put on hold. Hasn't disappeared, but it's put on hold. How do you think those things are going to impact when everything goes back to normal? What's going to be some of the outcomes, and how can certain people start to prepare for that?
Yeah, so for those people who are thinking about going to college right now, if you're going to end up in an online class situation anyway, seek out those universities that are well known for what you want to study, who are already doing online classes, and pay the lower cost for the online class as opposed to paying the higher cost for being for being on campus. I mean, the idea is to get access to the information that you need and to make connections and form relationships with your classmates. And that's the forming relationships is one of the biggest values of going to college. You connect with people, and then you also get to plug into that alumni network of people. So after you graduate and you end up on LinkedIn, you're like, well, who can I connect with? An obvious starting place is that whole alumni network and the people that you went to school with. So those are the two kind of things that I would be looking at if I was finishing high school and going into college right now. I'd be looking at how can I do this in a cost-effective way. And to the same token, a lot of what gets taught in college is in the library, and it's available for free. So what's missing is you don't have a guide through the knowledge that's in the library, which books you need to read first versus second. And the library doesn't necessarily give you the opportunity to form those relationships with other people in your class, and it doesn't give you access to that alumni network. So really be clear on what college is providing you and what resources you have available to you already, and make the best use of those. And please know why you want to go to college before you actually go, and have a purpose in mind, because you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on this, and that number may get ratcheted down as a lot of this moves online, but you're still making a significant investment in attending that particular institution, whatever it is. So really think about why you're going there, what you're going to get out of that, and what this is going to look like on the other end of that. Because if all the classes are online, you're not going to get access to all the parties that you thought you were going to be able to go to. So you're going to have to get your value somewhere else. And also on the flip side, from the university's perspective, universities are going to have to start specializing and becoming well known in particular areas, because as somebody who's taking those classes online, I can choose from any university. It can be anywhere in the world. So your level of competition just got ratcheted up tremendously in any of these areas of study. So if you're a university and you're not necessarily the best in business or in a particular type of business, it's going to be really difficult for you to get students, because those students can attend better universities online. So that whole business model is being turned on its head, because the value that the university used to provide is that's the place where all the books were held. That's the place where all the knowledge was held. And now that it's being dispersed over the internet, it's changing how everybody needs to think about that industry.
Exactly. So, I mean, is there any parting words? Because I know we're getting ready to come on that hour mark, and I don't want to hold you, because I know you got a lot to do. But is there any parting words that you want to say, any encouraging words, or and then also talk about ways people can contact you? I know your information is on the screen, but I know that you may also have some other information. But I just wanted to kind of give you that time to chime in and reach out to the people that may be listening right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. People can reach me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. They can also reach me at they can reach me at justin@rentalsecrets.net. And the words of kind of inspiration or empowerment that I want to leave with people is, you are a more capable individual than you think, and then other people give you credit for. You can actually accomplish whatever it is you want to. The issue is having access to the information, knowing where to look, and seeking out different experts who have information about what it is that you want to do and accomplish. As I know, when I started out in real estate investing, even though I had these degrees, I wasn't prepared for what I faced. But I was able to overcome each of those challenges in turn, and you will be able to do that as well.
All right, Justin, I definitely appreciate you joining us today, and I think the audience definitely appreciates you. I know for a fact we've learned a lot, especially when it comes to real estate. So definitely the next couple of weeks, I'm looking forward to bringing you back on as this thing updates and hopefully some better news come out of it, and we're able to really get information. So we really appreciate you being on part of the Start Thinking Forward, show. And this is also being broadcasted live and also to various podcasts. So this will be on iHeartRadio for those that are listening to be able to get this podcast and video vlog that we have. But we always talk about, real issues for real people. So try not to ever water it down and just be real and upfront with people and try to give them the information that they need. So we really appreciate you coming on today and helping us out to get a better understanding of real estate and many different areas that you touched on today. So we greatly appreciate that.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
All right. Thank you, Justin. So we look forward to seeing you again.
All right. You have a great day.
All right. You too. Hey, guys, real quick. That was a very interesting show that we had with Justin Pogue about real estate, about COVID-19, about the shutdown, or should we say right now, the reopening. So we're going to be carefully monitoring to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. As you know, Georgia's been reopened against the White House's and the president's outline. He kind of went back on the idea of reopening because of health concerns. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks, but we're going to continue to keep bringing you information and facts, the news that you can use, right? So, hey guys, thank you for tuning in to the Start Thinking Forward podcast. And until next time, we'll see you later.